Once upon a time there was a woman who baked 5 pies. When they came out of the oven, they were so overbaked the crusts were too hard to eat. So she says to her daughter, "Daughter, put you them their pies on the shelf, and leave them there a little, and they'll come again." She meant, you know the crust will get soft. But the dough, she says to herself, "Well, if they'll come again, I'll eat them now." And she set to work and ate them all, first and last. Well, come supper time, the woman said, "Go you and get one of them their pies. I dare say they've come again now." The girl went and she looked, and there was nothing but the dishes. So back she came and says she, "No, they ain't come again." "Not one of them?" says the mother. "Not one of them," said she. "Well, come again or not come again," said the woman, "I'll have one for supper." "But you can't if they aren't come," said the girl. "But I can," says she. "Go you and bring the best of them." "Best or worst," says the girl. "I've ate them all, and you can't have one till they come again." Well, the woman she was done, and she took her spinning to the door, and as she spun the sang, "My daughter had ate five pies today. My daughter had ate five pies today." The king was coming down the street, and he heard her sing, but what she sang he couldn't hear. So he stopped and said, "What was that you were singing, my good woman?" The woman was ashamed to let him hear what her daughter had been doing, so she sang instead of that, "My daughter has spun five skeins today. My daughter has spun five skeins today." "Stars o' mine," says the king, "I never heard tell of anyone that could do that." Then he said, "Look you here, I want a wife, and I'll marry your daughter. But look you here," says he, 11 months out of the year she shall have all she likes to eat, and all the down she likes to get, and all the company she likes to keep. But the last month of the year she'll have to spin 5 skeins of yarn every day, and if she don't, I shall kill her." "All right," says the woman, for she thought what a grand marriage that was. And as for the 5 skeins of yarn, when the time came, there'd be plenty of ways of getting out of it, and likeliest he'd have forgotten all about it. So they were married, and for 11 months the girl had all she liked to eat, and all the down she likes to get, and all the company she likes to keep. But when the time was getting over, she began to think about the skeins of yarn, and to wonder if he had them in mind. But not one word did he say about them, and she thought he'd wholly forgotten them. However, the last day of the 11th month, he takes her to a room she never set eyes before. There was nothing in it but a spinning wheel and a stool. And says he, "Now, my dear, here you'll be shut in tomorrow with some victuals and some flax, and if you haven't spun 5 skeins of yarn by the night, your head will go off." And away he went about his business. Well, she was that frightened. She'd always been such a careless girl that she didn't so much as know how to spin. And what was she to do tomorrow with no one to come to help her? She sat down on a stool in the kitchen, and Lord, how she did cry. However, all of a sudden she heard a sort of knocking low down on the door. She up and opened it, and what should she see but a small little black thing with a long tail that looked up at her right curious, and that said, "What are you crying for?" "What's that to you?" said she. "Never you mind," he said, "but tell me what you're crying for." "That won't do me no good if I do," said she. "You don't know that," he said, and twirled his tail around. "Well," said she, "he won't do no harm if you don't do no good." And she up and thought about the pies and the skeins of yarn and everything. "This is what I'll do," says a little black thing. "I'll come to your window every morning and take the flax and bring it spun at night." "What's your pay?" says she. The creature looked out the corner of his eyes, and he says, "I'll give you 3 chances every night to guess my name, and if you haven't guessed it before the month's up, you shall be mine." Well, she thought she'd be sure to guess his name right before the month was up. "All right," says she, "I agree with you." "All right," he says, and Lord how he twirled his tail. Well, the next day her husband took her into the room, and there was the flax and the day's food. "Now there's the flax," says he, "and if that unspun up this night, off goes your head." And then he went out and locked the door. He hardly gone when there was a knocking against the window. She up and she opened it, and there sure enough was the little old thing sitting on the ledge. "Here's the flax," says he. "Here it be," says she, and she gave it to him. Well, come the evening, a knocking came again to the window. She up and opened it, and there was the little old thing with 5 skeins of flax on his arm. "Here it be," says he, and he gave it to her. "Now what's my name?" says he. "What, is it Bill?" says he. "No, it ain't," says he, and he twirled his tail. "Is it Nat?" says she. "No, it ain't," says he, and he twirled his tail. "Well, is it Mark?" says she. "No, it ain't," says he, and he twirled his tail harder, and away he flew. Well, when her husband came in, there were the 5 skeins ready for him. "I see I shan't have to kill you tonight, my dear," says he. "You'll have your food and your flax in the morning." And away he goes. Well, every day the flax and the food were brought, and every day that their little black imp used to come mornings and evenings, and all the day the girl sat trying to think of names to say to it when it came at night, but she never hit on the right one, and as it got towards the end of the month, the imp began to look so maliceful, and he twirled his tail faster and faster each time she gave a guess. At last she came to the last day but one. The imp came at night along with the 5 skeins of yarn, and he said, "What, ain't you got my name yet? Is it Nicodemus?" says she. "No, it ain't," he says. "Is it Sembler?" says she. "No, it ain't," he says. "Ah, well, is that Methuselah?" says she. "No, it ain't that neither," he says. Then he looked at her with his eyes like a coal of fire, and says, "Woman, there's only tomorrow night, and then you'll be mine." And away he flew. Well, she felt horrid. However, she heard the king coming along the passage. In he came, And when he sees the 5 strings of yarn, he says, "Well, my dear, I don't see but what you have your strings of yarn ready tomorrow night as well, and as I reckon I shan't have to tell you. I'll have supper in here tonight." So they brought supper and another stool for him, and down the two sat, and he hadn't eaten but a mouthful or so, and he stops and begins to laugh. "What is it?" he says. "Why," says he, "I was out a-hunting today, and I got away to a place in the forest I'd never seen before, and there was an old chalk pit, and I heard a sort of humming. So I got off my horse, and I went right quiet to the pit, and I looked down. Well, what should there be but a funniest little black thing you ever set eyes on, and what was it doing but it had a little spinning wheel, and it was spinning wonderful fast and twirling its tail, and as it span it sang, 'Nimmy, nimmy not, my name's Tom Tit Tot.' Well, when the girl heard this, she felt as if she could have jumped out of her skin for joy, but she didn't say a word. The next day the little thing looked so maliceful when he came for the flags, and when night came she heard him knocking against the window panes. She opened the window and he came right in on the ledge. He was grinning from ear to ear, and his tail was twirling around so fast. 'What's my name?' he says. 'Is it Solomon?' She says. 'No, it ain't,' he says, and he came further into the room. 'Well, is it Zebedee?' says she yet again. 'No, it ain't,' says the imp, and then he laughed and twirled his tail till you couldn't hardly see it. 'Take your time, woman,' he says. 'Next stairs and you're mine,' and he stretched out his black hands at her. Well, she backed a step or two, and she looked at it, and then laughed out, and says she, pointing her finger at it, 'Nimmy, nimmy not, your name's Tom Tit Tot.' Well, when he heard her, he gave an awful shriek, and away he flew into the dark, and she never saw him any more.